Thank you for being there. Let's get to our first discussion. Nigeria and the World Bank have reached an agreement to speed up economic reforms, attract large-scale investment, and open up more job opportunities for the country's fast-growing population. The agreement followed high-level discussions held in Abuja this week, obviously between government, Minister of Finance, Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, and the Managing Director of Operations at the World Bank Group, Ms. Anne Jede, along with senior government officials from the World Bank and, of course, Nigerian government. According to a statement issued by the Ministry of Finance, the talks focused on moving Nigeria's reforms agenda beyond policy changes to visible outcomes that improve the daily lives of citizens. The discussions point to Nigeria's shift from making reforms to delivering real results, with both sides committed to building a stronger economy that provides jobs, stability, and shared prosperity for Nigerians. The meeting also restated the federal government's economic part under President Bola Tinubu, with officials noting that confidence in Nigeria's reforms program is gaining ground among global investors and development partners. My guest is Dr. Paul Alaje. He is a chief economist at SPM Professionals. He joins me from Kano, I guess, for this conversation. Thank you so much, Dr. Alaje. I appreciate your time. Good afternoon, Mr. Alaje. Can you hear me?
Thank you so very much for having me.
Yes. Let's get straight to this conversation. I don't know how you felt when the...
Good afternoon, sir. I can hear you loud and clear. I can hear you. The audio is very good.
All right, then. I said, how do you feel with the comments from the World Bank commending President Bola Tinubu with regards to the reforms and telling the president that he needs to stay the course, though Mr. President has said there is no going back? But what do you make of these comments from the World Bank?
Well, the World Bank comment is very important, and what he said is also very essential. Why I said this is because investors around the world must look at what World Bank, IMF, what key rating agencies are saying about a country, especially if the country had some concerns or they are nations of interest. World Bank positive comments on Nigeria is something that we should applaud. And what they said about the reforms is also very important. What this would do for us as a nation is that it will help boost confidence in the mind of investors who may want to invest in Nigeria and those that might be in Nigeria already. To my mind, I think it's a kind comment on us that tells us to do more.
But you know that the fallout of these reforms is what many would say is the concern. And the World Bank would always talk about how we can address the vulnerable ones. Now, in your thoughts, do you think that we have crossed that line and we'll start to see the positive impacts of these reforms across the board?
Okay, thank you so very much. This is a different question entirely. You know, my approach to things, when I am saying things that has to do with international environment, we have to be very careful because at the end of the day, one of the things that took us to where we were was low investment in our nation. So anything that will bring investment it is important to make some assertion as it affects our country. This is the only country we have, or maybe I should say this is the only country I have. Now, regarding the impacts are obvious. We have seen how inflation went up. We have seen the impact on unemployment. We have also seen the impact reported by the same World Bank as over 139 million people now living in abject poverty. Recall that in 2023 or 2024, I beg your pardon, World Bank have said that before Nigeria returns to where we dream, it may take us about 10 to 15 years before we get there. Now, I think that we might even get there a little bit earlier if we are consistent, and especially the major disruptor in our growth, many people think is just fine for us to have, which are the elections. And I will say this so that we understand. If politicians distort exchange rates in the next cycle of election, why we should be on time, maybe in the next 8 years or in the next 5-6 years, the kind of stability we should get, and the number for our GDP numbers is expected to go to nearly or a bit above $1 trillion. we might not be there if there are that distortion. Remember that 5 years' time, we have 2 cycles of elections, one next year, then another one happening after next year. So what we do between 2027 and 2031 will really determine if some of the aspirations we intend to get to be there. Have we gone out of the woods yet? The answer obviously will be a no. But are we in a very worse state that we were in 2023, 2024? The answer is also no. Recall that in 2023, I had projected that exchange rate will get to 1,500 by fourth quarter 2023. Then central bank made some adjustments in policy, some of which we have seen have turned out to be good. Today, exchange rate is now less than 1,400 naira to the dollar at the official window. We have also seen that major investment in capital, especially in refineries, has come to show us that is something really positive for our economy. That said, I think that yes, we might have not been there yet, but if we can maintain the progress and get more investment in the economy, it will certainly be well with Nigeria. But the caveat here is that all is not well yet. We should not think that the state we are, because World Bank have said, oh, the policy is in the right direction, therefore we should sleep. Inflation is still high, it's still double digit. Unemployment is still high. It should be less than 2% if you are using 1 hour a week. Then it should be less than 2%, it should be 1% plus. And so when we look at the numbers, we know that yes, we have a lot to do, but we were not at the point where we were in 2023 and first 2 quarters 2024. There is relative improvement in the economy, and that must be said and acknowledged. One thing that nobody can deny is stability in exchange rate. It has improved compared to where we were in 2024, where it went to 1,005, 1,003. We have seen relative improvement to less than 1,400 to the dollar. Where should it be? Around 1,000. Can we get there? Yes, if we are consistent, if we are focused. I strongly believe that we will be there. What will be the impact of this on our people? Yeah, there will be more investment. Investment will necessitate employment would improve. When employment improves and it's as a result of investment, you are going to see that you have positive impact on inflation. Inflation is expected to drop. All of these are things that will happen. But of course, there's a big elephant in the room. 2027 election, 2031 election. How are we going to handle this? Electoral reform. What are we going to do to those? If the aspiration and the expectation of World Bank and my expectation, of course, will come true.
Interesting stuff. Now there seems work seems to a lot of work still needs to be done. Even according to the IMF, they're saying that we still have a lot of work to do, and that's where my next question comes in with regards to the sync between the monetary and the policy, monetary side and the fiscal side. We are talking about the tax laws now, and we've seen some misinformation with regards to that, and a lot of work is being done to correct that. What do you make of the implementation of these tax laws too, considering the misinformation? Do you think that can in any way affect its thorough implementation? Because many expect that we need to make more revenue from the non-oil space to support whatever is coming from the oil sector, to, of course, reduce borrowing and all of it. But with all of the challenges being faced now by that committee, do you see a seamless implementation moving forward?
Well, I want to borrow the words of Mr. Zaka, or Dr. Zaka Dideji, the FRS chairman, who had said that this implementation is not going to be walk in the park. It's not going to be what to be done overnight. It will take a period of 5 years. For most developing countries I've studied, when it comes to their tax law, especially if they are people-centric, they did not implement all at once. Yes, we have the law, even though the law is not a perfect law. I spoke with Mr. Yedele a number of weeks back, and we examined some of the concerns people have raised. And, Mr. Yedele is an humble man. He's always open to discuss, and I'm sorry that I'm discussing the person here. So some of those things that needed amendment, honestly, professionals must be open and willing. Even government must be willing to allow for amendment, especially as people respond to them. This is what we make sure, this is what we enable Nigeria not to go the way of Kenya. Recall that similar policy is what have impact on Kenya. It also has electoral implication so that you understand 98, 99, these had major electoral impact on Russia. And that was what brought in Vladimir Putin, among two other policies that were implemented in Russia. So it's important areas where we need to make amendments. It's important that we embrace amendment ASAP. National Assembly should be open. The civil society, some of us in that space, should also look very critically. Area where we think that it might have adverse effects on the economy, adverse effects on the people, should also be mentioned. I have also mentioned an idea which I think that I don't know whether that is part of what is in the consideration or not, but some of the things that people have put in place, or maybe when the time comes, we can also make all of these things public and write them so that people can have access to them. But to my mind, what I know and what I've heard is that, as well as what I have read, is that most of the things that needed amendment in the tax laws will certainly be amended. It is not a work in the past. It's not a perfect document, but it's an improvement from where we were. You will notice that I make significant contribution even when my voice sounded lonely. I still make sure that I made input, and some of the things I said, honestly, I can see them right there in the law. Some of the things, VAT was recommended for 10%. I said no, and I maintain that VAT should not be 10%. Today, VAT remain what it's been at 7.5%, and I think that's good because of the kind of economy that we have right now. Even though it's improving, but we're coming from a much worse state. What we saw, in the I think 2015 to about 2022, 23. There have been some concerns around the economy, and that extended to 2024. But yeah, part of 2025, we start seeing some very green signs, very positive signs on the economy, which of course is driven by stability of exchange rate. We have seen inflation, rebased inflation has dropped to 15.15%. So some of these things, but where do we need work? And it's important. I don't know if I have just 1 minute. I know the conversation I want to discuss, this program cannot take it. And I mean the time that we have. See, Nigerians and indeed African countries need to wake up. There is a global shakeup. In fact, there is a global change of order. And this, we have tremendous impact on trade and on economy. And if I can tell you, nations are worried about the new practice of American practice regarding economy and trade. What would that be in the face of the three reforms the Nigerian government is pursuing? What will be the implication on our economy? Honestly, Nigerians, and I mean the rest of Africa, we need to start thinking the way Singapore is thinking, the way, what's it called now? South Africa, maybe not South Africa, I should say China is thinking about it. What must be done? Because the man in the White House is thinking of American first. Whether these support global trade principle, whether these go in line with World Trade Organization principle and the agreement treaties that have been signed among countries, it's a different kettle of fish. What Nigeria needs to know is that we cannot be behind, because if we do, honestly, we might see have to go back to Egypt. But I do not pray that will happen. So for those who are policymakers in Nigeria, for those of us who are economic watchers, we are looking for how do Nigerians participate in the coming or in the new or the global order that we expect. Some of the things we think old sway in the economy and for transaction and trade may certainly not be. And that is why I'm happy that Nigeria is quickly looking at how to sign new trade partnership in the Middle East. And we need to start looking more in the Asian market, need to start looking in the Middle East market, because if we hold trade to our traditional partner alone, I'm not saying we should not have relationship with them. I support that we have relationship with them, but if the relationship will be alone with them, I tell you, we do not know what the new world order will be. But in 2018, I spoke with you in your studio in Lagos, 2018, 2019, about about the trade war between America and China. I don't know if you remember that conversation. And I mentioned that if you have major exogenous factor around the world, it may throw the world into a recession. You and I did not see COVID-19 coming. What happened? COVID-19 came in February, and it impacted Nigeria February 2020. Nigeria went to a recession 2 times. Nigeria went to a recession 2 quarters, I beg your pardon. We need to be mindful of the reactions of the world and what is happening to global trade. Nigeria is not an isolated country. If and what if a global negative impact happens suddenly, what will Nigeria do? What will be the place of the reforms? It's important Nigeria take cognizance of high possibility of what I'm discussing with you. It's a new day around the world. People are looking into different paths, which of course may be places where economic impact may not be as much and that will affect them. But for us as Nigeria, the recent gain we have seen in exchange rate stability and the rebased inflation, if we have major impact, what will be the implication on our economy? I think it's something to think about.
Now, before I let you go, Dr. Alaje, I would definitely ask you this question.
Are you there, sir?
Yes, I am there. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me, Mr. Alaje?
I can hear you loud and clear from here.
Dr. Alaje, please, I beg your pardon. Now, Dr. Alaje, before I let you go.
Yes, sir, I can hear you, sir. I can hear you loud and clear.
Before I let you go.
I can hear you, sir.
Before I let you go, now let's look at our monetary policy meeting that we'll hold in another 2 weeks. Another 2 weeks. What do you think would form conversations around that table, considering all of the fundamentals that we've seen? Now that the global economy is seeing us as ready to do business, what do you think will shape decisions at that meeting on the 22nd of this month?
A number of things. Honestly, many people underestimated the capacity of the central bank administration. I will tell you that I've been largely impressed as someone who watched very carefully. And I tell you that for now, one of the things that will dominate that conversation will be expected global economic order. Expected global economic order. Two, what is happening to Nigeria reserve. Reserve has largely improved to above 46, maybe now 47, I'm not sure. I've not looked at the numbers on the central bank website, if that has improved. Many people would say that, oh, now that inflation has nosedived to 15.15 and our reserve has improved, exchange rate is reducing, therefore let us reduce interest rate from what it is, maybe by 200 basis points, 300 basis points. But we also need to be very careful because those who are investing in Nigeria, some of the things that are attracting them this rate. So I will not say that the rate, but I will tell you that this mix, what is happening to investment in Nigeria, especially those that are investing, even though it's just portfolio investment, but also it's a major concern because, of course, that's purely monetary. We need to look at what the impact will be on them if there will be a change, either upward or downward. Another thing is, Bureau of Statistics have released inflation, telling us that inflation is 15.15%. What would be impact of that? Is central bank still going to relax the MPR, maybe on marginally 100 basis points or 50 basis points? Apart from that, global economic quagmire, an expected response from the rest of the world. All of these will certainly impact what central bank decision, and I mean Monetary Policy Committee decision will be on MPR. Whether the rate will be higher or lower, honestly, with a different kettle of fish. But we need to mix all this together for us to determine. Recall that central bank even says that, oh, we are still seeing money supply increase. What are we going to do to mop up significantly money supply we have in the economy? But I think I provided answer to why we still have high money supply in spite of some of the policies of the Central Bank of Nigeria. But we might see all of those in the coming period. But most importantly, already we are in February, and I can tell you that we need to start smelling the coffee. Elections are here. And I say elections are here because from now we have nearly 1 year, just 1 year to the general election, presidential, gubernatorial for major states, and of course, the central in Nigeria. If we are not planning for election now, then we are all joking. So these, of course, central bank might not say it outrightly, but I think that they will be prepared for what, of course, may happen for that. With that election. So some of these will impact, future thinking, and all of those will definitely impact what will happen. But for me, I think I will look more into what is happening to exchange rate, and I also want to look very carefully to new global order. And I think that this is what committee members should be thinking in either reducing the rate or increasing the rate, as the case may be for Nigeria. But I can tell you that based on the indicators that we are seeing, it's important for us to note that some countries seem to be more interested in their own gain than honoring global world order, especially countries that are importing. Nigeria, sadly, is one of those countries that have heavy import. I'm not saying we are not exporting. I'm saying that rely heavily on imports. Honestly, such countries, we need to have a rethink. I've used every opportunity I have to tell African leaders and most importantly, my nation, especially when Russia first attacked Ukraine, I said there was no bomb blast in any soil, any part of African soil, but prices in Africa jumped because of trade, because of movement, logistics around the Red Sea, around the Black Sea, and also because of imports that Africa gets from that part of Asia, the eastern part of Asia, until Africa become liberated, either through AfCFTA, and that's Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, or Africa become liberated through countries having sovereignty in production of some items. Honestly, anything that happens to key nations that we import from will certainly be transported, will certainly have tremendous negative impact on us as a people and as Black men.
I must thank you so much, Dr. Paul Alaje, Chief Economist, SPM Professionals. Do enjoy the rest of your day and have a great weekend.